If I had to start Amazon FBA all over again right now from scratch, this is what I would do in any situation to go from 0 sales to a sold out store and 50,000 in my pocket. Now to get to the point where I'm at 50K in my pocket, I'm gonna have to do somewhere around $200,000 in sales, which really is not that hard. I did much more than that in my first year. So I'm gonna put you on some game in this one. And as always on this channel, I'm showing you how to separate yourself from the 90% of people who start Amazon and don't really do anything with it, don't make any money, don't make any sales, and put yourself in that top 10% of Amazon sellers so that you can get to the bag with Amazon. And the first thing I wanna tell y'all that I see a lot of people get wrong when they get into Amazon is don't niche down. In a lot of industries, a big part of being successful is finding your niche, especially in e-commerce. People talk about finding a category that you're good at selling at or that you have passion for, whether that be like dog treats or sportswear or shoes or beauty items or grocery, whatever it may be. In many industries, people will tell you find a niche and stick to it. When you're doing Amazon FBA, the opposite of that is true, especially when you're doing online arbitrage, which is what I teach, online arbitrage and wholesale. When you're doing private label, it's a little different, right? Private label, you're building your own brand, you're having to run ads, you're basically trying to get people to buy your brand from Amazon. But the business model we're doing here is online arbitrage and wholesale. We're buying name brand products that people are already looking for and selling them in our store. And that supply and demand business model is why you don't want to niche down, because I tell a lot of my students in my mentorship to think about their store as a convenience store, like a gas station. When you go into a convenience store, the convenience store doesn't make any of the products that they're selling. Maybe 1 or 2, but they're selling other name brands. They're selling Lay's, they're selling Cheetos, they're selling beef jerky, stuff that you already want to buy that they just bought from a supplier or the brand for a cheaper price and are now selling it for a profit. Now imagine if you went into a convenience store and they only had one type of soda and it was a brand that you didn't like, and they only had one type of chip and it was the brand of chip that you didn't like. That store is much less likely to sell out, much less likely to make a whole bunch of money, because they are just simply not stocked on the things that are selling. So when you're doing market research, when you're finding products, when you're sourcing, you want to pay attention to how much they're selling per month. You want to find out how much competition there is. You want to find out how much profit you can make from it and what the history on it is. And I'll give you an example. This is something that me and a lot of my students made money on a couple months back. A lot of people hopped on this and the price went down, so I don't mind showing you. It's a Dr. Bronner's Castile Baby Unscented Bar Soap, all right? So we're buying them from Vitacost for $3.51, right? Because at the time when I was buying these, Vitacost was having a 20% off sale for Dr. Bronner's, and I was getting them for $3.51, selling them on Amazon for $13.99, all right? And I'll even throw up my profit calculator for how much items that I bought from this. You can see here that about 400 units of this product cost me $1,404. I sold it for a total of $5,596, and that left me, after all Amazon fees, you can see the fee breakdown here, but after all my Amazon FBA fees, I'm left with a total profit of $1,760. So a cool little band and a half just from one product. And this is something I didn't even go that deep on. 400 products for me is not that much right now. But a lot of my students made this their first play, bought 10 of these, bought 20 of these, and kept moving on from there. And this is why I say don't niche down, because imagine if you would have got into this, you see this item, but you're like, oh nah, I'm only selling dog treats. I don't want to sell soap. So that's why I don't niche down. When you're doing online arbitrage, when you're doing wholesale, keep your mind open and source very wide. That's another thing, is when you're sourcing, is when you're buying products, you want to go wide, not deep, especially when you're first starting out. A lot of people will sit there and say, oh, well, Amazon, you can't make no money on Amazon because the ungating restrictions and Amazon's just too strict. Really, the problem is those people are putting all their eggs into one basket. They find one product and maybe they have $1,000 to spend. They spend their whole $1,000 on that one product just hoping that it hits. Whereas me, if I have only $1,000 to spend, I'm gonna spend it on 10 different products. That way, if 8 out of 10 of them hit, then I'm good. Whereas if I bought one product and that one product didn't do good, I'm all in my head now. This is a business. At the end of the day, this is a game. Business is a psychological game. And the more that you make it hard on your own brain to get those dopamine hits of, damn, I did a good job, I sourced this, I made some money, the harder it is to be successful in business. You can't have control over everything, right? Amazon is a business just like every other business where there's variables. And you might buy something that doesn't sell. So instead of going so deep on that, You can't control the market, you can't control what happens with Amazon, you can't control the ungating process, but what you can control is the way that you move in this game. You can control the amount of inventory that you buy. You can control where you buy it from to make sure if you can't sell it that you could return it. And this is why I say Amazon is not risky if you move the right way. But if you put all your money into one item and you got it from a place you can't return it, and you didn't get it from a good place that gave you a good invoice, and you don't know how to make invoices on Canva, of course you're gonna have a hard time. And that's why I see so many people saying, oh, it's saturated and you can't make no money there. I tried it. Bro, I have so many students in the mentorship making money with this. I know you did something wrong at that point, because every student who comes in here that follows the blueprint and follows the methods that I give is not having these problems. Yes, there are things that you have to deal with, but as long as you know what you're dealing with up front, like this, you can know, all right, I can't go deep on my first product. First, I got to vet it in my store. Because another thing I say to my students all the time is that, yes, you're getting data from Seller Amp, and yes, you're getting data from Keepa on how these products look, right? How the profit looks, how many times it sells per month, how many people are getting to sell it already. But all that data is just telling you that it's a good decision to try it. Once you get it into your store and it's making sales or it's not making sales, making profit or not making profit, that data means more to you than anything else, right? The data that comes from my own store means more to me than Seller Amp or Keepa. There's been times where I've seen an okay product that I thought, I'll just buy 10 of these and see how it works out. It's probably not gonna do that good. I buy them, they sell out first day. I buy 20 of them, they sell out first day. I buy 100 of them and they start doing well. I buy 400, and some of those have become my best product, even though on Seller Amp and Keepa, it didn't look like it was gonna turn me up. And there's also been items that turn me up on Keepa and Seller Amp. They look really well, and then I get them and they don't perform as well as I thought. So as a beginner seller, don't get caught in that shiny object syndrome. Don't see an item and you're like, oh my God, this is selling 1,000 times per month, only has 5 sellers, I can make 200% profit, I'm gonna go all in on this item. It's very easy to get caught into that trap, all right, y'all? So don't get caught into that trap. Make sure your mind is where it needs to be at. Stay focused, stay stoic in the way that you're not getting caught up in these emotional ways of I need to be here, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, all right? So not niching down is gonna be a huge part of that. It's gonna make sure that you're successful and make sure that you're not wasting time and wasting money. And next is something that I have to tell everyone about, is that you have to invest back into the business. If you are getting into this game, a lot of people will DM me on Instagram or on TikTok and say, how quickly can I make $10,000 from Amazon? And the answer, and I usually don't answer that question, because if you start out with that kind of mindset, you're breaking yourself. You're kind of starting off on the wrong foot, because if your goal is to pull out $10,000 and have $10,000 in your hand, it's very easy to do that, right? It's not going to take a very long time. But as soon as you pull that $10,000 out and you spend it, that's $10,000 that you don't have in your store anymore. The first 2 months of my store, I wasn't making that much money, but after that, I was making more than I was making from my job, but I couldn't quit yet, because I knew if I start paying bills with this money, and if I start spending this money on things that I want, and I start taking care of people with this money, it's not gonna be in my Amazon store rotating, buying more product, making more profit. Yes, you can make $10,000 really quickly from Amazon, but that $10,000, in my opinion, has to go straight back so that you can run it back for $20,000, for $30,000, for $40,000. And then you could slowly start taking profit that way. But too many people are caught up in this game where it's like, you don't have no idea how many messages I get that people saying, I'm in a bad spot, I gotta make 20K by next month. And I'm like, damn, what did you do to get in that spot, bro? So make no mistake, this business, and any business really, you're gonna have to invest back into the business, all right? You don't wanna keep having to start over on this business. You don't wanna have to keep, oh, I made 10,000, but I spent it, so now I gotta start from square one. And funding can be a huge help with this. I tell everyone that's getting into this game, business funding is your best friend. Why would you take your own money, spend it all on products, just to wait for it to get back and put yourself into a messier situation? Yes, you should start with your own money. Yes, you should start seeing progress with your own money. And that's the way that I started. That's the way I start everyone else out. because you don't want to get into something with a bunch of money. You don't want to throw money at a business model you don't know about. You want to get familiar with the business model, but once you're in there and once you're going to do Amazon, get some business funding. Use the bank's money, but to buy a bunch more inventory, put that into your store and make bread like that. That's how I came up. That's the blueprint I give to the students in my mentorship. And again, it is, in my opinion, one of the biggest aspects of separating yourself from the 90% of Amazon sellers that aren't really going to do much, putting yourself in that top 10, even the top 5% of Amazon sellers. Because make no mistake, this business model has a lot of people starting. They don't say it's saturated because a bunch of people are doing well. They say it's saturated because a bunch of people have already started. A bunch of people start all the time. But these are people who are starting, they don't know what they're doing. They saw a TikTok video and they're starting with no money. You got these fake gurus out here that are telling people, oh, you can start Amazon with no money. You could drop ship on Amazon, whatever. If you get into this business model and you figure out how to do it, and maybe you've made a couple sales, and then you go out and you figure out how to get your credit right and how to leverage your credit for business funding. I have several videos talking about that on my YouTube, and I've gotten dozens of my own students funded for 50, 75, 100, even 120K. Use that to put it into inventory in your Amazon store and make a bag like that. It's so simple, man. It's not simple, but it's simple. You know what I mean? It's business at the end of the day. It's gonna be tough. That's a big part of this, is your mindset, not to be like all airy, but back to, so many people want to know, how fast can I make 10K? This is not a job. This is not something where I tell you, all right, you put this many hours in, you work this many days, and you get X amount of dollars. This is not that, all right? If this would be a job and you would have a boss, there is no boss here. When you start Amazon FBA, you're your own boss, and you decide how quick you hit 10K. You decide how much work you put in. You decide how many hours it takes. You decide how long you source. So at the end of the day, a lot of those questions of, hey, how long do I have to source? Or how many hours do I have to put into Amazon? Or how long will it take me to reach 10K? That's on you. You know, me, when I first started, I knew I need to get to my bag like ASAP. I don't care what other people did. That's the main reason why I didn't ask those questions, is because I knew I can work hard, and I knew, all right, whatever answer you tell me, I could probably get there quicker. You probably didn't work as hard as I'm prepared to work. So that's why a lot of times you just got to get in there and just start, and you just got to get your hands dirty. Another aspect of separating yourself from that 90% and getting to that $50,000 in your bank account is working with a team, right? This is something that I have seen make a huge difference for me and everyone that I work with, is working as a team. In my opinion, making money is a team sport. And while I started Amazon by myself, I saw so much growth when I started getting a team around me. And an example I can give y'all is in this mentorship that I run, right? We have somewhere around 200 students, right? Not all of them are active. Active, we have somewhere around 80 students, right? And 80 people on a mission is a lot. I'm gonna tell y'all something we did a couple months back with a product that we had. It was selling very popular. It was selling out, and it was a great product, doing a lot of numbers and a lot of profit. And so what we decided to do was, a bunch of us hopped on this product, right? We all bought into it. We all started listing our products, and we lowered our prices, right? So we lowered our prices to the point where everyone else that was on that listing started getting off of that listing, right? We didn't lower the prices to the point where we're not making no money or we're losing money, but some of us were breaking even. Some of us were only making a couple dollars profit. And I'm gonna tell you why we did this, because as soon as people started hopping off, and as soon as people started selling out and seeing, to them, they look on Seller Amp and they see, oh, the price is going down. To us, it's because so many of us, we had about 40 of our own people on that listing, taking control of that price, dropping it down. And as soon as they were gone, we raised our prices back up, because we're working as a unit. We're all communicating with each other in the general chat. We're communicating with each other one-on-one messaging. We're on calls, and we were able to secure our spots on that listing, our spots on that product. We were able to control the price a lot more because we're not dealing with outside influence. We're working as a team, as a unit. And that's just one example of how you can work with others to make Amazon work for you. We are so unstoppable at this point in the one-on-one mentorship, in the mentorship that I run, because not only are we all working towards a goal, we're all active. Really and truly, if you get your skill level up to the point where you could find 5-10 leads a day, it's not that hard. And I would rather have people that I know making money with me on a listing than people that I don't know. So work with a team, man. There's a lot of things you could do with a team when it comes to Amazon FBA. Another thing that I want to tell y'all about when it comes to scaling aggressively to that $50,000 in pure profit is the way that you run FBM versus FBA. So back in the day, even when I started, starting out FBM was what most people did. I made 80 grand in sales doing FBM, right? Just shipping products directly to the customer from my own house. But Amazon is starting to change a little bit, all right? It's getting a little harder for new sellers to get going because the reviews aren't there, and Amazon's starting to be a little bit more heavily skewed, giving sales to sellers that have a lot of reviews. Not only reviews, but just sales in general, right? Amazon will give you a lot more sales if you've made some sales. And the easiest way to do this is to start FBA, right? So sending stuff into the Amazon warehouse, Amazon will show you a lot more favor because Amazon doesn't have to trust you to get an item there to the customer on time. They can say, all right, Lane sent his items into the store, to the Amazon warehouse. We know we can get the item to the customer at X time on X day. We don't have to trust that he'll get them there. So they're obviously gonna weigh heavier in, if you're a new seller and you're sending in FBA items, they're gonna be able to you're gonna be able to make sales faster rather than an FBM seller that they have to give you the trust. And it's a lot easier to mess up as an FBM seller. So the way things are going, I would say as a new seller, if you're not starting in Q4, to go ahead and start as FBA. Make some sales, make your first 10 to 20 sales on FBA, and then you can start running half and half FBA, FBM. That's what I like to do. I like to do half and half. You got your FBM for your quick money, and you got your FBA for your big money that's coming in slower in chunks. And operating this way with these things that I'm telling you will get you to the point where you're separating out from that 90%, and you're scaling very quickly to reach that 50K goal. In my mind, $50,000 in profit is the point where you don't have to worry about money anymore, because it's not that you can afford everything like Lambos and a house and all that, but $50,000 in profit, if you can make it there, you pretty much have this game on lock. You are part of that top 10% Amazon seller. And that's what we're focused on here, right? We're focused on that. These strategies will help you get there. These strategies are the same thing that I teach my students. A lot of this is, I say it over and over again, but people just don't get it, man. This is the sauce that got me where I'm at. This is what got me and my team where we're at right now. It works over and over and over for the students that I work with one-on-one. And so if you're starting Amazon FBA, make sure that you are paying attention to these things. Make sure you don't let yourself slip into that 90%, because it's real easy, especially in the beginning, to just give it up because it's hard and feel like the grass is greener somewhere else. I remember when I first got into Amazon, I started and then things got a little hard and I was like, damn, I should have got into trading, or I should have got into whatever else business there is. But all businesses have their trials. All businesses are going to get tough at a certain point. So don't focus on it as like, oh my God, this is so hard. Just focus on, if I can do this, then my goal can be reached. And that's what it's about, man. So that's pretty much it. If you are looking for one-on-one mentorship, you want help putting these strategies into play that I'm telling y'all about, profitable leads given to you every week, you want one-on-one guidance from me to help you start and grow your store. I've scaled hundreds of students from zero to success with Amazon FBA, and there's a reason the blueprint works, man. I made it on the way up, started from nothing and got to where we're at now. And we're as locked in as ever. Getting students funded, getting them inventory into their store that's gonna sell well and that's gonna make them lots of money. So we're on the way up. We're almost to Q4, the most important time for Amazon sellers. So don't get left out, man. If you're looking to start, get with a team, start working, whether you're doing it on your own or not, just get into it, start making moves with Amazon. And as always, sell things online and make lots of money. Peace, y'all.